All right, everyone, I am going to show you how to do the progress tracker. So this is your assignment for today. So a progress tracker is kind of summarizing everything that we have learned for lessons 1 through 7. So what are the main concepts? What are the main ideas? What are the takeaways for all of the lessons that we have done? The beginning lessons were really more investigative, so we did learn a few things from those investigations, but we might not have vocabulary for those investigations. We might not have some real in-depth science concepts, but we did learn some things that led us to different and more investigations. So we'll get started. So the one thing I want you to do is have your journal in front of you, with you, along with this progress tracker slide deck that you have assigned to you. Okay, so you'll have the progress tracker up on your screen, and then you will have different slides, and you can see that I have all the different lessons up there already. Now we're only going to do 1 through 7 because those are the only lessons that we have done so far. We're about 3/4 of the way done with the unit. Okay, all right, then with your journal, one thing that I'd like you to do, we did combine a couple of lessons. So with your journal, I want you to take a look at these questions that are at the beginning of your journal. So you're going to flip over to these questions, and I want you to cross out question number 6 because we did that when we did question 4. So we kind of put those together. So this stays for 5 is our condensation investigation. 6 we're going to cross out, and we're going to make number 7 a 6. So if matter cannot enter or exit a closed system, how does a liquid in the system change temperature? And then number 7 is our light versus dark investigation lab. Okay, so that's where we will end. We will be changing all of these numbers too, but we'll get there. Okay. All right, so in your journal, just to kind of give you a heads up, you have information for this progress tracker in your journal. So this is lesson 1. This is the fancy cup versus the regular cup. So that was that demo I did right at the beginning. Then lesson 2. So there's a few pages for lesson 1. Then lesson 2 was when you guys did the cold cup test. So you tested a bunch of different cups with lids where you put cold water in it, in each of these cups, and then we tested to see which ones kept the water cold the longest. Then we did lesson 3, which was similar, but this was hot water. So we put hot water into our cups, and we tested to see how long it would take for our cups to lose energy, and then our water would become colder on the inside. That led us to lesson 4, which was just using the data from the hot water lab for our lid test. Okay, what cups with no lids do versus cups with lids. And we found some interesting things about cups with lids, and this is our evidence that we were able to make a claim. So we did make a claim that was in Google Classroom. Then lesson 5 is our condensation lesson. So this was, where does the water on the outside of the cup come from? And we did this right in the classroom. Some of you had a regular cup, some of you had a metal cup, and we saw that mass did increase, and the food coloring on the inside for mine was red, but the water on the outside was clear. So we did find out that the water does come from the outside of the cup, from the air. All right, then lesson 6, you did online, and you watched a little video where I talked about the closed container, and if matter cannot go in or out, then how come energy can? Then what's going on with the energy? If energy can leave a system or enter a system, then what's going on there? That led us to our light versus our dark lesson. So this is lesson 7. So we learned some things specifically about a clear cup, a foil cup, and a black cup when it came to light. Okay, we learned that transmitted energy into the clear cup had an effect on the water on the inside of the cup. We also learned that with the foil cup, much of the reflected light had some sort of effect on keeping our cold water cold. And then the black cup, we learned that it didn't have a lot of transmitted light. It didn't have a lot of reflected light. So where did that light go? And we learned some things about the reason with the color of the cup and how that might have caused the temperature to change for that cup. Okay, so those are all the lessons that we've done. So now with this progress tracker, what you're going to do is, using that information from your journal, you're going to start up here. Here's some directions because you can read through that. We're going to start here with lesson 1. And what was the investigative question for lesson 1? So again, you can go to those questions and you can type in that question for investigative lesson number 1. And it is, why does the temperature of the liquid in some cup systems change more than others? So I will type that in. Why does the temperature of the liquid in some cup systems change more than others? Okay, now I did make your font quite small because I want to make sure that everything that you want to type in those boxes fit. But if you want to change your font after you type it to make it a little bigger, as long as it doesn't go outside of the area, that's fine. But it is small for now. All right, now what was the investigation that we did? So again, this was the fancy cup versus the regular cup. So all I need to do here is just say fancy cup versus regular cup. Regular cup. There we go. All right, and then what did I figure out? That would be what was the result of that investigation. We found out overall, was not in every class, but most classes, and then the average even kind of showed this, that the fancy cup kept the water inside colder longer than the regular cup. Okay. And what did the evidence show? So this would be the evidence that we got, whatever you put in your data chart. And I'm going to tell you, my data chart was not filled out, but you should have that from your class. If you don't have the data from your class, find somebody in your group who can give you that data. And what you're going to want to write down is the temperature change for the regular cup and the fancy cup. So what that would look like would be the data table says that the temperature change for the fancy cup was, whatever that number is for you, for your class. The temperature change for the regular cup was whatever that number was in your class. Okay? Now, if you were a class that had no change in either of them, or if they were the same, maybe there's an average that you could use. But otherwise, you can show the data. But overall, what we figured out, because we did look at all classes, was that the fancy cup kept the water inside colder than the regular cup. Now, there isn't really any vocabulary with this investigation. Okay, so you can skip that one. Progress tracker lesson number 2. Now, I'm not going to fill out lesson 2. I just wanted to kind of show you what to do in the progress tracker. But you will do this for all of the other lessons. You're just going to keep going back to your notebook, finding the question for that particular lesson. And then what did we find out? What were the features? Because this is the one about the features of the cup that kept our water cold. So you guys did do a test, and we did test things like lids versus no lids, cozies versus no cozies. We tested regular cups and cups that had double layers. And so we did find a few things when we did that test, in this test, lids were inconclusive. We didn't really get any good data about lids, but we did find, here's our conclusions, we did find something about cups with thicker bases, that we learned something about the thicker base helped in keeping that water cold. And then we rated them. Okay, so these were the ones that were the top performers. All right, then lesson 3, you're going to keep moving on in your progress tracker. Lesson 3 is hot water, 4 is lids, and so forth. And again, you are stopping at lesson 7. Okay, one more thing, a couple things actually, we could do here is for lesson 2, we did start drawing models. So you could create some sort of model, even off to the side here, just to recap what was the model that we developed. We created a class consensus model after lessons, I think maybe 3. So the cold water and the hot water. We did kind of an initial model of the thicker bases versus the regular bases. Let's see, yep, there it is. I'll just kind of share that. And this was, I believe, after our second lesson. Okay, so we had our cold water on the inside. We learned that the thicker base kept the water colder. And then we developed more onto our model. Okay, now other places that you can go for information. So let's say you don't have the information in your journal. If you go into Google Classroom, this unit started on September 18th. And every lesson, if you click on it, shows a picture of our, there we go, journal. So we have the journal pages for lesson 1 there. That was day 1. So there's our model, okay? All right, so that was day 1. And then if you keep going, September 19th was day 2. There is still lesson 1, but we do have another, oops, nope, and maybe it's after this. There it is. All right, journal entries for day 2. Okay, so every lesson for every day, I include, if we did something in the journal, I included the pictures that go into our pictures of our journal for those lessons. So maybe you don't have, let's say, lesson 4, day 2. Could there be some information in there to help you? Okay, that's the lid versus no lid. So there's a journal entry for that. Okay, and then on the following day, we did whiteboarding and we came up with our models. So there's information to help you there. All those lesson slide decks can help you fill out your progress tracker for each of those lessons. But the most helpful thing will be if you've kept up with your journal and you have those pages. It's going to be real quick just to flip through, get our conclusions, get the data to support those conclusions, and the vocabulary. I think you're going to start seeing that there's going to be vocabulary in lesson 4. Lesson 4 was evaporation. So that definitely could be a definition, a vocabulary with a definition that you could put there. Okay, because we did do a model that showed evaporation. And lesson 5 was about condensation. So that's another vocabulary word you could put for lesson 5. There are some others, if you can think of them for some of these lessons, go ahead and add them. All right, that's it. Good luck. Do your best. Work hard. This is due Monday. So we'll see you later. Have a great weekend.